Hey everybody, it's Drew Williams with Guidescent, and it's time for an extended 2-minute warning. And for this issue of our 2-minute warnings, I'm coming to you from the USS George H.W.Bush, where I've had the opportunity to return to naval service, even if it's just for a token few days after a 30-year span of waiting and hoping that the opportunity would present itself. So here we go. We've talked a lot about risk and risk management in other 2-minute warnings, so in today's special extended 2-minute warning, let's discuss the subject of risk review. What is it? Why your organization should plan one? And what you might discover about how to keep your important assets protected based on the data that you will collect from performing a risk review. And as a comparative, and with a nod to my own personal background, as well as to one of the world's most famous movies currently playing in theaters, I'm bringing you all along with me to experience a bit of the risks we see every day on what has been referred to as the most dangerous job in the world, working the flight deck of an active aircraft carrier. An aircraft carrier is a floating city of more than 5,000 men and women, and it usually carries around 80 aircraft of various types, including fighter jets, early warning systems planes, rescue helicopters, and the occasional transport plane. And during flight operations, it's the busiest place on Earth. During the cycle of launching and recovering aircraft, a well-orchestrated crew of field experts, with an average age of between 19 and 20 years, wearing an assortment of colored jerseys, move fuel, weapons, people, and planes on 4 acres of steel, and usually while moving at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour.
So that's Petty Officer Putnam right there, and we're on the forecastle of the George H.W. Bush, and that is a 1,000-foot long chain. Each link is 138 pounds, connected to 2 anchors, and those anchors are 20 tons apiece, and they are meant to slow down the ship and eventually stop them, but boy, heaven forbid if one of those cuts loose. But this is the formal part of the ship, and it's also where the captain has really great experiences with really bad people.
The United States deploys 11 carriers all over the world, and as the largest warships ever constructed, the layers of risk associated with just keeping these 10,000 plus ton steel vessels afloat are constant. And flight deck operations are why these ships are active 24/7 and in all major waters of the world, as aircraft take off and land at nearly 200 miles per hour within a matter of a few seconds apart. From a risk perspective, your business will likely not have to deal with such weighty issues as supplying food and fresh water 3 times a day for 5,000 people, or have to worry about whether you can land your aircraft safely at night or in bad weather on 200 feet of runway while aiming for one of 4 small wires to stop you from going into the sea. But for your business, a risk review or assessment can be an effective means of identifying the various information assets that could sink your business if those assets get accessed by the wrong people. And a risk review is the only way to ensure that the cybersecurity processes and controls you implement or should are appropriate to the risks your organization may face. Also, a risk review helps organizations focus their cybersecurity activities so they catch that wire every time. And like the U.S. Navy and how we manage risk regarding our fleet, your business may consider a basic 5-part plan as your guiding principles for tracking risk. First, identify the risks or hazards you are likely to face. A hazard is any condition with the potential to negatively impact your business objectives. Second, for each hazard identified, determine the associated degree of risk in terms of probability and severity. The result of this type of an assessment is a prioritized list of hazards which allows you and your team to focus on what's most likely to happen rather than what could be a waste of time and resources chasing things that may not land properly on your ship. Next, you will need to make risk decisions. A key element of the risk decision is determining if the risk is acceptable. And remember, as we have mentioned in other 2-minute warnings, there are only 4 real choices when dealing with risk: accept it, assign it, avoid it, or apply some technology or control to it. So your decision on which risk is acceptable needs to be based on whether the controls and processes you have in place are sufficient to address those risks identified and reduce or remove potential hazards to your operation. Next, and speaking of controls, once those risk control decisions are made, you need to make sure the controls and processes that are in place are actually doing what they are supposed to be doing. This translates into making sure your plan is clearly communicated to all the involved personnel, accountability is established, and necessary support is provided, and that you have the resources on hand to verify and validate your security process. And finally, ensuring your risk review processes are accurate, supervising the progress and reviewing activities along the way involves determining the effectiveness of those processes that govern the risk controls that come into play. This involves three actions: monitoring the effectiveness of risk controls, determining the need for further assessment of all or a portion of your business operations due to an unanticipated change, and capturing lessons learned, which include positive and negative results. While maintaining more than 4 acres of sovereign United States real estate as it surges, sways, floats, and flies the flag in foreign waters can be a tough job, it comes with a high degree of concentration and demand on everyone who steps aboard. And while your business may never need to figure out where to park 80 fighter jets or feed a crew of 5,000, your business operations will definitely benefit from implementing a risk review or assessment. And Guidison can help you plan, launch, and recover the results from such a review and keep you in safer harbors. And for Guidison, from the USS George H.W. Bush, I'm Drew Williams, and this has been your 2-Minute Warning.